Welcome back, guys. In this lecture, we will learn about different types of data types in C#. We'll learn how to declare variables and how to use them to store information. We'll also practice taking inputs from user and displaying the output in the console window as well as in the debug window. So to get started with, let us go back to our Visual Studio and let me comment out this code. So there's a shortcut. If you press Control Shift and the backslash key, it's gonna comment your code. And then again, Control Shift and then backslash key to uncomment it, right? So let me comment out the code and let me add comments over here. Data types and variables, right? So variables are nothing but it's a name given to a memory location. For storing the data, we use variables, and every variable must have some data type assigned. So there are basically, if we talk about data types, there are 4 types of data types in C#. So the very first is the reference type. Reference types, as in we have class, we have interface, we have string, we have an array, we have delegates, and so on. Then we have value types, or we can also call it as built-in types, which are like int to store numeric numbers, long numeric numbers, float numbers, double, then we have char, we have boolean, and so on. The third type are the pointers. So pointer types are basically asterisk and ampersand. And then the last type is the nullable types. So nullable types, if I talk about nullable types in C# are the types that allow variables to be assigned a value or null. So at times, in case you want to assign any null values to a variable, then you may be using this nullable type. So we'll have a detailed discussion around these types, and to get started with, the very first thing we'll be choosing are the value types. So as in, let's say I want to store some value. I want to store some number. Let's say I want to store age. So let's say age is 30. So this will be assigned to some variable. Assigned as in we have an assignment operator available that is equal to. And variable could be any name that you can define, like ABC, XYZ, any meaningful name. So here, if it is age, I'm gonna give the variable name as age over here. So age equal to this. Now every variable must have some data type, right? Depending on what value that you are storing, you need to define a data type. So data type will be for number will be int as in the integer data type. And then to end this statement, you need to add a colon. So this is how we have actually stored the age 30 in a variable which is of a data type that is integer. Now this is actually gonna allocate 4 byte of memory. And if we talk about 4 byte, this is basically, if you know, 1 byte is equal to 8 bit, which is in total 32 bit memory allocated whenever you are storing any integer type of data type. And if we talk about the range of this integer, so how long the number could be, numeric number could be, the range starts from -2147 483 and then 648. So it starts from here and it goes up till 2147 483 647. So this is the range which is defined for the integer numbers, right? So it means I can store at least these many numbers in int. So if I want to store a number like this, I can copy this and paste it over here, remove this commas, and see, I'm able to store this number. But if I go one number beyond this, then you'll see it's actually throwing me an error, right? Same way, I can store a number which starts, a negative number starts from this digit, right? And if I try to store a number beyond this, like below this, sorry, actually I have given the range as 48, and if I give it 49, then only it is going to throw an error, right? So that's how, this is the range which is predefined for integer types of data, like how much in range you can store the numbers, right? If in case you have a number which is like some greater range, you're gonna get error, and you can see cannot implicitly convert type long to int. Then we have a different type available for it, right? Then instead of storing it into int, we're gonna store it into a long type of data. So then you can see this is accepting the value, right? So let's we're going to talk about long data type as well, but first let's come to int and let's understand it again. So I'll change this back to 30. So here the age is 30, and here in this statement, this is a data type, this is your variable, this is assignment operator, and this is the value which is assigned to this variable, right? So whenever there is an assignment operator, the compiler will run the right hand side first, right? So compiler will gonna check what exactly the value is actually assigned. So it's gonna start compiling from the right hand side. Now in case you want to print this age, you'll simply say console.writeLine and give age over here, and then you'll try to print it. So let me save this and let me run this code. And you'll see that the age 30, whatever value that we assigned to the variable, is actually printed like this way, right? Now instead of printing it over here, we can also print it in the debug window over here. So instead of writing console.writeLine, you can also write debug.writeLine, and then it will start printing it in the debug window. And you'll see that the value is printed in the debug window. So for the debug window here, when you initially start with C#, like in Visual Studio, you're gonna see so many codes, so many logs being generated over here. So if you want to turn off those debug messages, what you need to do is you need to go to Tool, and from here you need to go to Option. Then you need to click on, you need to go down till debugging, where you see debugging. This is debugging, and inside this debugging you need to expand this, go to output window, and here you need to turn off these module load messages. See, initially by default it is turned on. If it is turned on, then what happens is when I run the code again, you'll start seeing so many messages coming over here, right? You don't want to see all these messages. Just go to Tools, just go to Option, and inside debugging output window, turn off these module load messages. And then when you run it again, you'll stop seeing these messages. So now instead of printing it in the console window, every time a terminal, a command prompt pops up and you validate your data in the command prompt, instead of doing that, you can also check it in the output window of your debug console as well, right? Now if I want to store bigger numbers, numbers like this, so we just have seen that it will not be stored inside int like this, right? So we need another data type which is called as long. So long data types is typically used when dealing with large data sets that requires a broader range, right? So such as large file sizes, some database record counting, or a financial calculation involved large sums, then only you will be using this long data type. And typically when we use this long data type, we add a capital L at the end, right? So we come to know that yes, this is a long data type. And then in case you want to store some decimal values, like I want to store a value 0.934, something like this. So in order to store this value, we have a data type which is called as float. So I'll say float f equal to this, and then we need to add f at the end, right? So this is a float data type, and this actually uses again a 32 bits memory, which is equal to 4 byte in the memory allocation. And this is typically to store data and can maintain about 6 to 9 significant digits of precision, right? And then in case you want to store larger numbers, larger decimal numbers, something like this, dot this, something like this, then instead of storing it in float, there is another variable which is called data type, which is called as double. And double consumes basically 8 bytes of the memory. So this consumes 4 bytes and this consumes 8 bytes. So this is to store and maintain about 15 to 17 significant digital of precisions. So this is what your double data type, right? And then we have some more data types available, like we have char. So I'll say char, I'll want to store a particular letter, and I can add a letter like this, A. I cannot add a complete word over here. This will not allow me. This is just to store a single letter, A, small a, capital A, B, C, D, something like that, right? In case you want to store some words, let's say I want to store my name. I want to store a name Rahul. Then I'll be storing it. I'll say name equal to this, and this will have a data type which is called as string. So all the words, the sentence, the string format are always stored in a string type of data type, right? You cannot store it in any other data type like int, float, long. So every value has its own data type assigned, right? And in case you want to store any Boolean information, Boolean is like true or false. So where you store true or false, you store let's say is true, and the data type will be Boolean, right? So Boolean is for true or false. So anything, any condition you want to achieve based on any particular scenario, if that scenario is true, then you want to achieve this task. If it is false, then you don't want to achieve that task. So this is depending on the Boolean condition, and Boolean conditions are basically defined with true or false. Now some more types are also there. Let's say in case you want to store only positive numbers, so you don't want any negative number to be stored. And let's say I want to store just 10. I'll say num equal to 10, and I want this integer not to store any negative numbers. Like if I say -10, I'm able to store it in int, right? But I want if any number should not be negative, So what I'll do, I'll use uint. Uint is basically unassigned int. So see, this is not allowing to store negative value. You can see 10 cannot be converted to a uint. So this basically is unassigned int. It only stores positive values. And like we have uint, we have ulong available. So if the number is greater, like this, so we cannot have a negative number, it has to be a positive number. So this will be stored inside ulong. Let me remove this. Right, and same way, in case you want to assign some small numbers, small numeric numbers, so we have a data type which is called as short. So short is equal to this, a very small number, right? Same way, in case you want to store only positive values for short, then it will be short and then any positive value like this. You cannot store negative values, it will gonna throw an error, right? So this is another type of data type, right? So we have some ranges below this as well, like we have a type which is called as byte. So byte b equal to, and the maximum size for byte is 255. We cannot store more than 255 number in this byte type of data type. If I try to store 256, see, it's throwing error. So the maximum range is 255. So the range is basically between 0 to 255, right? And as we know, 1 byte equal to 8 bits. And we have something called as S byte as well. So S byte, SB equal to, so the range goes something like minus 128 to 127 is basically its range. So you can store numbers between minus 128 to 127. So if I store 128, it will allow me to store it. But if I try to store minus 129, and see, it's throwing error. So up till 128 it is supported, and same way 128 I cannot store it. I can store up till 127, right? So this is basically S byte, which is again the range, this is of 8 bits. So this is also called a signed 8-bit integer. So this can store a negative value as well as the positive value. But if we talk about byte, it can only store positive values. It cannot store negative values. So this is the only difference between byte and S byte. So S byte is basically a signed 8-bit integer, right? Now there are some special data types also available which are very, very important at sometimes, like in case you want to store any value and you're not sure about what data type to use. So let's say I want to store something equal to this. I know this is numeric value, so it will be stored in integer, but if you don't know, you can simply define a type as var. So if you are not sure about the data type, then you can use this var type, and C# will automatically assign the data type based on the provided value. But you know, the var values are fixed. So if you want, if let's say if I want to print this, I can simply say debug dot write line and something, and if I save this, so you're gonna see in something the 100 number will be printed over here. See, 100 printed, right? And now if I want to change this something if I want to assign any other value, I can assign any other value of the same type. This will work. But if I want to assign my name to this, like I want to assign Rahul to it, then you see it is not allowed. So if you see, it cannot implicitly convert type string to int, right? So we are getting some error like this. So we cannot do it with the var type. But we have one more powerful data type available, which is called as a dynamic type. So let's say dynamic something new equal to again 100, right? And now what I want this something new to assign a value which is my name Rahul. See, I'm able to do it. So in case you want your type should be dynamic, like later on you want to assign any other type value, then you can use this dynamic type of data type as well. So we'll be using this dynamic a lot while working with our automation code, while designing frameworks. We'll be making a use of these special data types available in C#. Right. Now the other thing, in case you want to print any like variable values by combining some of the string values, so how you actually gonna do it? Let's say if I want to print, if I say debug dot write line, and I have defined some variables like name, like age over here. So I want to write something something like hello, like hello, and the name, and then you are this much year of age. So what you can do, write something like this. So define 0 over here, and then say you are, and define 1 over here, and this 0 and 1 will be mapped to the variables that we're going to use. So how this is done? This is done how hello, and yeah, this I want to replace it with the name, and this I'll be replacing it with age. So it's like hello Rahul, you are 30 years old. So you can do it like this way as well, and then you'll be defining your variable like name and age, and that's it. So if you run this, you will see the output. See, hello Rahul, you are 30 years old. So this is one way of doing concatenation. So this can also be done something like there's an old way of doing it, that we do it in Java and other languages as well. So here you can just put one comma, or like add this in double quotes, the string, then add a concatenation operator, which is plus. And here you want to concatenate your name, so we'll say name, then again add a concatenation operator, and this is a string value, so put it inside string you are, and then again, so all the string values will be inside double quotes, and any concatenation done with a variable will be with a plus operator. And here you'll define the variable age, then plus, and then years old. And then if you remove this, you run this, you're going to see almost the same output, and see hello Rahul, you are 30 years old. So here you can see some space issue is there. So over here you can provide a space, and you can provide a comma over here. So you're gonna get exactly the same output. See, so this is another way of doing concatenation. So this is concatenation, and this is how to print variables with the string value. So how you're gonna print it, right? One more way is there. If I like if you don't want to declare variables over here like this, like we did it 0 1, and then we declare the variables, you can also replace it by adding a $sign over here, and then directly specify your variables over here. So this is like name, and this is age, and then remove this. So this way as well you can achieve the same concatenation. See, right? So this is how you call the variable values within your string while you are doing printing, or while you are assigning these variables later on. You can achieve it like this way, right? Now let us take some input from the user. So how are we going to get the input from the user? Let's say I'll write console dot write line, and here I'll say enter your age. Now I want this to be input from the user. So what I'll do, how to get input? Input is actually done with the help of console dot read line, and this I want to read it in a form of integer value. So we need to convert this. This is basically, see, accepting the string value, but age we're gonna provide it in a form of a number. So we're gonna say convert dot to, and we'll say to int of a 32-bit type. So this is what we need to do. So this is going to convert this value to a number, and then we can store it just so we can store it int user age equal to this, and then we're gonna print this. So we're gonna say console dot write line, your new age is plus, and then we'll say user age. So this way as well we can do it. So what happens now is when we run this, see, it's asking enter your age. So I'm going to define the age. I'm going to write the age as 35, press enter, and you can see your new age is 35. So this is how it's very easy. I mean, you can see the data type variables. These are very, very simple. Just practice them once, twice, and get yourself comfortable with the very first C# code, and see if you are able to print all these things, if you are able to understand these concepts, because this is the initial base of any programming language, to understand data types, variables, so that we can start consuming them in our upcoming lectures, where we'll be discussing about classes, objects, and so many other functionality that we'll be seeing in C#, basic programming understanding, right? So just go through these things, and then I'll see you in the next lecture. Thank you.